Shabbat Shalom. Happy Tu B'Av, our holiday of love. And so we're going to sing a song about loving kindness and about love. Is that right? All right. So each day when we wake up in the morning, it's nice to start our day by focusing our mind on this very important mitzvah. This is the mitzvah or the commandment of loving our neighbor as ourselves. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And those are the words of this song. Wonderful. Let's continue singing page 10. Hine ma tovu anayim. Here we go. Hine ma tovu anayim. Shevet haim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu anayim.
I don't know if you picked this up, but Cantor Spall threw in a little bit of a word change into the words of Hine Matov Umanaim, the words of our psalm. And usually it would say, Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. And Cantor Spall saying, Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Kulanu Gam Yachad. And taking this nice idea of how good it is in the Hebrew text when brothers dwell together to how good it is when all of us come together to dwell together. So I love our Reformed liturgy and the ability to respond to who we are as a community and how nice it is that we can shevet kulanu b'yachad. In that vein, let's just take a moment, take a deep breath, welcome Shabbat. Let the beauty of the outdoors fall over you. If you're streaming with us, take a deep breath as well. If this is your first time here or the first time joining us on the live stream, this is Cantor Jamie Spall. My name is John Praz. I'm one of the rabbis at Beth Am, and we're joined by the amazing Russell Norman, who's playing keyboard. And it's a delight to have you join us on this Shabbat as well. We'll turn to our Shabbat candles, and for the honor of lighting our Shabbat candles, we invite forward the family of our B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow, Josh Markowitz and Allison Barnstable, Jeremy Markowitz, Andrew Markowitz, Colin Barnstable, Helen Barnstable, Emma Nathanson, David Markowitz, Dawn and Brian Farhi, Sabrina Farhi, and any out-of-town family I didn't call. And of course, we need our Sean and Cal as well. And we're on page 2 in the prayer book. There you go.
Good. It's working. There we go. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We invite forward Sean and Calvin to join Cantor Spall here on the Bima or closer as we turn to words of Kiddush, which are on page 5. And I see some folks out there under the age of 13, under the age of bar and bat mitzvah. If that is you and you want to come on up here for some grape juice, please do so. If you need to bring a parent, that's cool too. If you feel young, you can even come on up here as well. So, Cantor's going to hold this one. And you guys are going to hold this one, and this one, and this one.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon inilanu Zikara lemase v'reishi ki yom tehila lemikra kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'cha Otanu kidashta mikol hamim Beshabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon Hinotanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
L'chaim. Everybody have a big sip.
Fine.
Daddy doesn't drink this one.
In the Torah portion that Sean and Kevin will be leading tomorrow, there's a famous verse from the book of Deuteronomy that says, some of you might even know it, the idea of a person cannot live on bread alone. The words from the Torah, this idea of we receive nourishment not only through food and drink, but also through community and loving family and support of one another. The words of Lecha Dodi are on page 20. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Shabbat,
celebrating love in all of its many forms. We started off by singing a meditation about bringing love and kindness to ourselves and to others in our lives. And now we say a blessing for God's divine love, which comes to us and through us, through our acts of loving kindness to each other and through doing mitzvot. So we are loved by an unending love. It goes like this. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us, even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meaning. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love.
The words of the Shema are page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai
seated. Page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech u'shoftecha uvkumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'vihisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem, amen. The words of Michamocha by Elim Adonai, who is like you, O God, the song of the crossing of the sea, the song of redemption, are on page 40.
כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
גל ישראל.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
False
One of the great gifts of the Jews, or the great gifts of knowing someone who's Jewish or being part of a Jewish community, is the ability to celebrate Shabbat. The secret to our longevity and the secret to our survival is that we've always had Shabbat. In 6 days, God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day, God ceased from work and was refreshed. Page 44. If you're able, I invite you to rise for the Amidah, the Tefillah, the standing prayer on page 46 is our opening meditation.
So it's my honor to call up right now some important leaders in our congregation. Not only are we celebrating Shabbat and the 15th of Av, Tu B'Av, wrong date, celebrating love, but we're also celebrating our Beth Am women, and I'd like to invite them up now for a blessing. So I'd like to call up Lisa Steinbach, Rita Allen, Alita Longwell. So come on up when I call your name, Diane Stadlin and Julie Brenner, Felisa Eiley and Valerie Goss, Jan Iltis, Sylvia Gitlin, Julie Roston and Dana Doctorow, Adrian Bronstein, Jenny Schabel, and Leah Hallert-Carrito, along with Claudia Bloom. So come on up. If you guys will stand like on this side so that I could see you and bless you. Okay, hello everyone. Okay, all right, so here is, first I'm going to say some stuff, Russell, and then we'll start. All right, so, hello. Oh. Our God and God of our ancestors. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak V'Yaakov Ve'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah. May God bless these women, these leaders of Beth Am. Bless them with open and honest hearts. Grant them the ability to lead with strength and with love. May they feel your presence in their daily work. Let them continue to serve our congregation and the Jewish people through acts of loving kindness, and may they find fulfillment in their deepening relationships with one another. May they continue, all of them, to live in good health and happiness for many years to come. Now, there is a blessing that we give. Sometimes it's given to our children, and it calls upon our angels. I think some of us consider you our angels, but there are very specific angels that we're going to call upon. And first, we're going to call on the angel of our right side, with God's right side. On our right, we have Michael, and on our left, and like Michael's, you know, for our, and then we have Gavriel, and then we have in front of us Uriel for vision, and behind us we have Raphael for healing, and those four angels are surrounding each of you, and then all around us is God's holy presence, the Shekhinah. So I'm going to sing this angel's blessing for you as you go forth as leaders of Beth Am Women, and if you feel like you know the song, feel free to sing along, but otherwise I just sing this for you. May our right hand bring us closer to our godliness. May our left hand give us strength to face each day. And before us may our visions light our paths ahead. And behind us may well-being heal our way. All around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah. Mazel Tov, and may you go from strength to strength, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
So just a tad bit of an explanation on what Cantor Shpal just was talking about. We have this small holiday called Tu B'Av that falls in the summer during the month of Av. Tu B'Av, if you had looked up at the moon, I think it was on Wednesday night, you would have seen this super beautiful big moon over the hills of the Santa Cruz Mountains. And two in Hebrew is the 15th. It's the Hebrew equivalent, so we know it's smack in the middle of the month when the moon is at its brightest. And the mystics tell us that Tu B'Av is the day of love, the day of compassion. And so that's what the holiday of Tu B'Av. And every year at Beth Am, on Tu B'Av, we celebrate our amazing Beth Am women's group. So Cantor Shpal had the honor of giving them a blessing for this Tu B'Av holiday. I'm also told that all of the Beth Am women on Tu B'Av go to the Taylor Swift concert. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told.
Good.
So, yeah. So Tu B'Av, we didn't just make it up tonight. I promise it's actually a real thing, and it's a great way to celebrate some of our leaders within this synagogue. And with all the joy of celebration and the joy of B'nai Mitzvah and the joy of our leadership, we know that some come to our worship because they're thinking of some individuals in need of healing, healing of body, healing of spirit, potentially people suffering from addiction or other mental illness. Words of our healing prayer are on page 253. On this Shabbat, our Beth Am community is specifically praying for Ginny Anderson, Alex Brodsky, Susan Carlson, Diane Denenberg, Tony DeSopo, John Devine, Rudy Andrizi, Elaine Ehrman, Marty Gelman, Selena Glader, Barbara Heiken, Moritz Huppert, Arnie Cameron, Jordan Leon, Miriam Bat Eliezer Videvora, Judith Ovadia, Sophia Palisbam, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Peggy Pizzo, Marvin Schwartz, Bud Schuler, Stephen Abraham Simon, David Baruch Ben Simona, Patrick Sumner, Julie Sutcliffe, and Len Williams. If you're offering healing prayers for anyone, I invite you to share their name out loud at this time so we can add them to our prayer. As many of you know, throughout the summer we invite our congregants to offer words of Torah from our bima. It's a really fun for me tonight to invite one of my friends forward to offer words of Torah. Sarah Fields, who's been connected, who we've been friends for about 10 years. Sarah's been connected for Beth Am about that amount of time. She's helped out in many different parts of Beth Am, including the Orchard and Beth Am Women, some of our justice work. She is an individual who lives the value of tzedek in her life every day. She's served the Jewish community well, specifically as one, she worked at the Jewish Community Relationships Council, JCRC, and now she works at one of our most amazing local nonprofit partners, Life Move. So it's awesome to have Sarah offer words of Torah this evening. Every once in a while.
Overwhelmed by what Rabbi Prosnich just said about me. I wish my parents were here. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So, as was alluded to earlier, this past Wednesday was Tu B'Av, a day that has become something of a Jewish love holiday among certain secular Jews. However, the history is, as ours tends to be, more complicated. The holiday was well summed up by an excellent and very, very niche social media account that I follow that said, the marketing team who turned go to the fields and catch a virgin dressed in white to take as your wife into Jewish Valentine's Day deserves a big raise. It's Jewish memes only if you're curious. In all seriousness, the morphing of a tradition of single women dressing in white and going out to the fields to attract a potential suitor to wine and chocolate after services, and yes, there is a wine and chocolate after services, thank you to those sponsoring, is a pretty good one. And we've seen other, even just in this service tonight, Cantor Spall change some lyrics on us, and those kinds of progressions are really positive. But unfortunately, not everything has evolved in such a delightful direction. Last year, in the last 3 days of June, in the United States, a country that has in so many ways been such a wonderful place, not just for Jews, but especially for Jews, and for many religious and ethnic minorities, took several steps backwards. In those last 3 days of June, 3 decisions were made by our Supreme Court that shifted not only our laws, but our societal values. First, in West Virginia versus the Environmental Protection Agency, the court ruled that in relation to the Clean Air Act, to the extent to which the EPA can regulate carbon dioxide emissions related to climate change. Ultimately, this was the first time a majority opinion held that a federal agency lacked the authority to issue a regulation. Since we're a people of questions, I would question, who then does have the authority to issue a regulation? Next, in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, often referred to as the Bruin case, the court ruled that New York's concealed carry law was unconstitutional. It extended the right to own a gun for self-defense in the home to also exist outside of the home. The ruling was strengthened by strong originalist sentiments advancing an understanding of the Second Amendment that cannot take current public safety into account, only history and tradition, and rules of the time of the Constitution was written. And lastly, I suspect many of you are familiar with Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which took the court in a unique and unusual step of, for the first time, revoking a fundamental right recognized by the court for the last 5 decades, overturning Roe and calling into question well-accepted rights around privacy. Okay. I was abroad when all of this happened. My brother and sister-in-law and beloved little nephew live in London, and I was visiting them at this time last year. When it was time for me to return home, my brother sort of half joked, maybe I shouldn't go back. Several hours later, of course, I did land back at SFO, and I felt a deep sense of sadness and disappointment in my country. Typically, I'm happy to come home to California, as I imagine many of us are. But a year ago, that homecoming was filled with a very different set of emotions. Our Supreme Court had been pushing social policy against social progress, and that not only worried me and continues to worry me, but these shifts in law also continue an erosion of public trust, in our government and our institutions. When I went out to write what I might say on this evening of thinking about both reproductive justice and our congregational celebration of Tu B'Av, I felt a bit overwhelmed. The Dobbs decision represents so much backsliding for my generation. I'm 37. Many of my closest friends are parents or trying to become parents in this decade of our lives. Many through a myriad of modern fertility treatments, some of which are now or might soon be called into question, and some have made the decision not to become parents. Recently, I flew to Denver for the Brit Milah of my best friend's second son. I was thrilled to be able to make the trip. Her first one was born during a much higher COVID risk period, and I was devastated to not welcome him to the Jewish people, and I would not miss the second one. My friend's in-laws flew in at about the same time I did, and they generously offered to drive me. Her mother-in-law, a warm, interesting woman who, among many other things, happens to be a rabbi, and I chatted for a while, and we discussed her joy in welcoming a fifth grandchild into the world. She paused and said, "My children have done a great job adding to the population of Jews in the world." And I was struck by this sentiment. So much of the broader discourse is about worry for the planet, the overall growing population, and scarcity of resources. But when it comes to Jewish babies, the conversation is a little bit different. Growing up in the Reform movement, I often heard of rabbis who would agree to marry a Jew and a Gentile only if they promised a future of Jewish children. While I understood the reasoning behind such decisions, I cannot help but wonder if this approach is too concerned with outputs and overbuilding a thriving community. The decision to have children after the Shoah was and continues to be an act of hope and faith. And that is really what my friend's mother-in-law was getting at in her moment of joy. In all this about Jewish children, where does this leave the Jewish understanding of when, where, and how to have these children? As a congregation, we have explored the sacred texts in our understanding and examining of Jewish concepts of life, when it starts and when it ends. As a small refresher, the first mitzvah to the world, the commandment that stands behind all other commandments, is given in the opening verses of Genesis. The human being is obliged to go out into the world and fashion, transform, and renew the cosmos. The greatest aspiration of the Jew is to create, to bring into the world new ideas, healing relationships, and expand the boundaries of knowledge. Most fundamentally, the human being must refine, renew him, her, or their self. According to Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, one of the great scholars and translators of traditional Judaism in the last century, Genesis chapter 1 is the source for the inherent dignity of all human beings. God gave us a precious gift. All of humanity and all its diversity has been created in the image of the divine. And this is also the great mitzvah and the central challenge of all our lives. Genesis commands that we take this gift seriously and understand its normative implications. Go, create, renew. It's the first mitzvah. This week's Parsha, Ekev, begins with, "If only you would listen to these laws," which contains a verb that is a fundamental motif of the whole book of Deuteronomy. The verb is shema. The verb is also in last week's Parsha, in the most famous line of the whole of Judaism, Shema Yisrael. It appears nearly 100 times across the book of Deuteronomy, but the challenge of this word is something that Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the former chief rabbi of the United Kingdom and of blessed memory, called the fallacy of translatability. The fallacy of translatability. I'll say it again. You'll use it at a dinner party later. Simply put, he argues that many translations are not a true "this means that." And this holds especially true for this section of the text. There is no single English word that means to hear, to listen, to heed, to pay attention to, and to obey. And yet Shema is translated in all of those ways across many different translations. The expansiveness of language and law here is essential in continuing to believe that an ever-improving society, even at a time when progress appears to be distant, is possible. Reproductive justice is an everyone issue, not a women's or men's issue, not a straight or queer issue, not a young or old issue, but everyone. Life is sacred in Judaism. Banning potentially life-saving medical procedures or interfering with a patient's decision-making and moral agency runs contrary to the Jewish commandment to protect and make life. This belief, combined with biblical and rabbinical emphasis on human dignity, has led our reform movement to view the life of a pregnant individual as paramount, placing a stronger emphasis on protecting existing life over that of potential life. Last fall on Yom Kippur, Rabbi Prosnit, in that very sanctuary, while walking with the Torah, said to me, "I have a sign for you." And the sign reads, "Abortion bans are against my religion." It's hanging in the window of my apartment, and I believe there are stickers here in the back that say the same thing. These messages are printed by NCJW, the National Council of Jewish Women, a very important organization which I've had several different connections to, including, if you're interested, traveling to Kenya, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about that, perhaps on another Shabbat or after. I want to say that I'm really proud to be part of this community that deeply explores and then puts into action our Jewish values. Ruth Messenger, the former Manhattan Borough president and American Jewish World Service leader, once said, "Despair is not actionable. We know that as Jews. We thrive in a free society, one that has strong institutions and protections and rights for everyone." I hope that many of you here this evening will join our congregational efforts. There's additional information in the back about upcoming events, including later this month, and I look forward to connecting more after services. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Thank you, Sarah. If you're able, I invite you to rise on page 282 in the middle of the page as we chant the words Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Take a seat. Just a few brief announcements before we conclude our service, as we do each month. This month we're collecting for a really important organization. This month we're collecting tzedakah money for a local organization called Hope's Corner, which is a Mountain View nonprofit that provides meals and showers, shelters to area residents. On the corner of Hope and Mercy in downtown Mountain View, Hope's Corner principally serves low-income and homeless residents, welcomes anyone looking for a meal, help, or a friendly face. Bethlehem has been a partner of Hope's Corner. Raise your hand if you have volunteered with Hope's Corner. So there's a bunch of people out there who have volunteered with Hope's Corner. We volunteer serving breakfast with Hope's Corner monthly. We are always looking for more volunteers, so if that's something that you're interested in, please let me know. In the meantime, our tzedakah box is in the back right where you picked up your prayer books. So if you can put a check or cash in there, you can always Venmo Beth-Am and mark tzedakah, or make a contribution on the Beth-Am webpage. As Sarah said, there's amazing work of the Beth-Am women, including our Reproductive Justice Committee, led by another Sarah. Where are you? Oh, over here. Stand up, Sarah, for a second. If you're interested in getting more involved in that work, you can find either Sarah, or anyone named Sarah, actually. Find them, but certainly would need some support there, including an event with NCJW, National Council for Jewish Women, later this month, packing care kits that we could use volunteers at as well. So find Sarah, myself, or Cantor Spall as well. And then if this is your first time at Beth-Am, we'd love to get to know you a little bit better. There's a lot of friendly folks out there. I actually think everybody's a friendly folk out there. And some of our board of directors are here. I see Amy, our president, and Jay, our media past president. So anybody, find them, say hi. Can you guys wave? If you're on the board, wave. We'd love to see you as well. Come say hi to them, or just find somebody that looks friendly and introduce yourself. Please linger. It is such a beautiful night. It is still the beauty of August here, and so head on to our back patio for a Oneg Shabbat sponsored by our Beth-Am women. As we turn to the prayer of memory, Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. If I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise in his or her or their honor, and then we'll rise as one community to say Kaddish together. Lost to the Beth-Am community in this period of Shiva, the 1 week since passing, was Thomas Nordlinger, the husband of Miriam, the father of our member Robin Lyman and Carmine Lyman, the father of Dean Nordinger, Kelly Cohn, and the grandfather of Nina, Alex, Lola, Tyler, Samantha, and Lily. In this period of Shloshim, we remember with love Robert Bloom, Jerry Behar, Jane Fellows, and Laura Newman. On this anniversary of death, the yahrzeit, we remember Mark Anderson, Rodney Aronson, Rivka Aviad, Eleanor Besson, James Borowitz, Ruth Burke, Miriam Sheila Burr, Beverly Connolly, Hilda DeSopo, Lillian Davidson, Herbert Davis, Glenda Derman, Florence Erber, Lynn Fox, James Henry Gibson, William Gleason, Harry Goldstein, Arlene Gopham, Jack Gordon, Avraham Bertram Greenberg, Lazar Gerfinkel, Helen Hausman, Albert Hirsch, Edward Hoffman, Sylvia Hoffman, Evelyn Hoffman, Ann Holtzman, Dustin Moore Ives, Irene Johnson, Israel Kahan, Hyman Carno, Andrea Carlin, Chaim Kravoshi, Dora Kropp, Leonard Lambden, Harold Lightstein, Leo Levy, Miriam Lewis, Myra Lewis, Joseph Latus, Lillian Lippy, Lillian Luria, Todd Laurel, Kay Luft, Carolyn McHenry, Sharon McCarthy, Sarah Mendikova, Saul Miller, Oliver William Miller, Paul Moskowitz, Adele Newman, Harold Pinen, Barry Plotkin, Sidney Resnick, Pinchas Pudilov Resnick, Armando Quiros, Janice Raphael, Joe Rando, Lawrence Reback, Sidney Resnick, Jack Roston, Philip Miad Roston, Mikasa Sijis, Lillian Schiff, Benjamin Schnurr, Mitchell Schwartz, Donald Seiler, Earl Schenken, Sam Spall, Irene Spall, Grigory Speyer, Sylvia Sopkin, Ann Stein, Fred Stein, Richard Stein, Melissa Steiner, Murray Stopel, Lillian Tregob, Sally Turk, Moisey Tutmim, Sarah Unterman, Isidore Warshaw, Joseph Wishko, and Moshe Yampolsky. If you're thinking of someone else whose name I did not read, I invite you to rise and share their name out loud at this time. We rise as one, 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalma divaraku te b'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'izman karib b'imru amem, Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam ulmei almaya, Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shmei d'kusha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata, tush bechata b'nechemata, damiram bi'ama b'imru amem. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, b'chayim aleinu b'al kol Yisrael b'imru amem. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu b'al kol Yisrael b'imru amem. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. We're going to sing our song of peace. Peace here, peace in our land, peace in the land of Israel, peace everywhere. Od yavo shalom aleinu.
Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'alekuna. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'alekuna. Salam aleinu el kol olam. Salam, shalom.
Shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom.
Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu.
There's an extra cool holly here. I just want everybody to see it. Lisa made this. Looks like a heart. It's filled with chocolate chips, so you might be lucky enough to get this. And we will say Motzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Say hi to somebody new on your way out.